Earlier today, I was watching a video on how to tie a tie for tonight, and hours later, I was still on my phone. But instead, I was watching a video of a baby and a cat spinning in circles, chasing their butts. Flash mobs doing the baby shark dance, and people jumping off their roofs into pools filled with jello. It's so easy to get sucked in. Our society is built around technology. Whether we use technology to talk to each other, to read the news, or even to look at social media, we spend all of our time on our phones, computers, or iPads. While through technology, we can make positive connections, it affects our personal connections in a negative way. So today, I'll discuss the addictive nature of checking our phones, what personal connections are, and why they're so important, how I experimented with this issue, and lastly, ways we can limit our time on electronic devices. First, let's talk about the process of checking our phones. Checking our phones is like the Pavlov dog test. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov was a Russian physiologist known for his work in classical conditioning in the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Pavlov showed that dogs could be made to salivate at the sound of a bell if that sound was repeated at the same time every day when they were given food. Even when no food was present, the dog still salivated. Our phones can create a similar phenomenon. When we hear a ping and get a text or other notifications, we are driven into checking our phones. We are no different than Pavlov's salivating dogs. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and other social media internet companies know this, and they exploit it. In the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, it helps show this dark side of social media, revealing how they pull you into checking your phones by sending you notifications, and then use data on your likes and dislikes to keep you engaged in order to maximize their own ad revenue and profits. We get sucked into doing something on our phones, like watching a funny video from one of our favorite creators, browsing through the endless posts on social media, or read an article. We create this cycle that goes on and on and on. So, what creates the cycle? One reason is a chemical reaction in our bodies. When we're happy, we release particular neurochemicals, including oxytocin, which acts as a chemical messenger and plays a key role in human behavior. Oxytocin also provokes serotonin, which is a brain chemical that regulates anxiety, happiness, and mood. But the main chemical that is released, though, is dopamine. Dopamine is released in anticipation of reward. In simpler terms, this all means that when we hear that Pavlovian ping, we anticipate a reward, which drives us to check our phones. Instead of checking our phones, we can spend that time to finish up our homework. We can spend it with our family or friends. We can spend it on personal connections. So, why are personal connections so important? In an article by Psych Central, they define personal connections as the sense of closeness and belongingness a person can receive from a supportive cast from those around them. While it's a lot easier to make connections through technology, the connections we make from eye to eye help us with our mental health. In an article by Forbes magazine, they define personal connections as the sense of closeness and belongingness. In Forbes magazine, they provided scientific evidence that we can get a much better feel for a person's tone, sentiment, and feeling from face to face. We can get back and make more personal connections by simply putting in the effort to talk to each other. When we do this, we get that face-to-face interactions. Because personal connections are so important to me, I decided to try my own social dilemma and go a full week without any technology, with only a handful of exceptions. I was not allowed to text my friends, take breaks on my phone, or even read an article. I immediately noticed the small little things I never noticed before. First off, I noticed I was less tired and more active with the activities I was doing due to the great sleep I was getting. I also noticed how I was more efficient with my breaks, which helped me finish my homework a lot quicker. But I did not see the social benefits I was looking for. One night at dinner, I would see my dad sitting on the couch working, my brother texting his friends about the most random thing, and my mom watching the energetic tennis match at the recent Masters 1000. In a normal week, these small things seem so innocent. But this week, it enraged me. It made me feel like I was missing out on something, when in reality, they were missing out on the time that we had together. It was the same with my friends. When I went to school, all I would see were them talking about what they were texting about in the group chats. Or I would see them talking about the sports news that they're either enthusiastic about or enraged about. These small things made me so angry in a normal week, and it made me feel like I was missing out on the true benefits of life. I made this vow to be somewhere free of technology, but those around me, who I care about the most to socialize with, did not make this vow. Going cold turkey like I did isn't really realistic, but there are ways we can limit our time on electronic devices. First, we can put our phone on Do Not Disturb. When we do this, we won't be getting pings or notifications. This should help you stay focused, and it will make it seem useless to check your phones. Another way is by putting your phone out of sight range. When you do this, it will push the idea of checking your phone out of your mind. Many families put screen limits or app limits on their phones. Personally, I don't think this works efficiently, because when I have a screen limit or app limit, all I want to do is spend that time to the most of my ability, or I want to think about that time of how I'm going to use it tomorrow. Technology can help us make positive interactions, but it affects our personal connections in a negative way. Thank you for listening to my speech.